Final game of the series, final game of the homestand for the Mariners. As you take a look at Safeco Field, the Mariners trying to get a series win against the first place Texas Rangers. And a welcome inside beautiful Safeco Field. So glad as always you can join us for Mariners baseball on Root Sports. Aaron Goldsmith alongside Mike Blowers, our entire Root Sports crew, as the Mariners aim for a win tonight behind Taijuan Walker, trying to put his worst start as a big leaguer behind him earlier on this homestand against the Angels. And Mike, how about we take a look at Jeff Bannister's lineup that'll face.
And for the Rangers this year, it's been the middle of the lineup that has really hurt them. Carlos Beltran 2 for 4 last night, had 3 RBIs, his 27th home run on the year. Adrian Beltre hitting .538 in his career against Taijuan Walker. And Rougned Odor, 30 home runs on the year. He is a .500 hitter with the home run against Taijuan as well. And for Taijuan Walker this year, his fastball, 94 miles an hour. Opponent's average, 265. His best off-speed pitch is his changeup. He'll throw that quite a bit today. 238 batting average, right around 88 miles an hour. He'll also use his curveball. Opponent's hitting just 207. Now look at the defense for the Mariners. Guillermo Heredia getting the start in left field. Franklin Gutierrez out in right. Sean O'Malley, the shortstop tonight, and Chris Iannetta will do the catching.
And his last start, Taijuan could not escape the first inning, gave up 3 consecutive home runs back to back to the Angels. Not facing an easy lineup here tonight as he starts off with ball 1 to Mazzara. Rangers have lost 3 of their last 4, that following what tied a season best 7-game winning streak. Right away, the shift is on for Mazzara. Taijuan falls behind 3-0. All pitches missing up.
And this will be an interesting game for Taijuan. I had a lengthy conversation with Mel Stottlemyre today about Taijuan Walker. And I think the biggest thing with him this year is he ends up walking the first batter, is he's been inconsistent. And they're trying to get those things worked out and give him something that he can go to be able to command his fastball first and foremost. And then if he gets into trouble, be able to back things off and go to his secondary pitches. And that's been an issue for Taijuan. And Mel Stottlemyre thinks that they've figured that part of it out. But he also cautioned today that it's going to take some time for Taijuan to get there to where he's comfortable with his new mechanics.
5 straight pitches that miss for Taijuan to open tonight's game, and that brings out Iannetta. Now Scott Servais was very candid talking about Taijuan today, saying that Taijuan hit rock bottom in his last start, and that, as Scott said, not many guys hit rock bottom at this level. And Servais made the reference to, if you're that high draft pick, a college All-American maybe, and you spend your first season in pro ball in the minors, and then you hit rock bottom, and then you build up from there. So a little bit different in this regard.
Similar to what Mel Stottlemyre was talking about today, and that is that when you are a high draft pick and you're somebody that's moving quickly through the minor league system, more times than not, it's tough because obviously Taijuan is very talented and putting up numbers and getting away with maybe some flaws that other people see, but they're reluctant to say something because he's doing well. And you look at last year, it's finished extremely strong last year. So even though this new coaching staff saw some flaws, they had to let Taijuan work his way through it and let it take its course. And I think the best news of all of this, and you mentioned the rock bottom, is it's Taijuan that has gone to them wanting to put in the work and get the help. And since his last start, it was the next day he was out doing flat ground work out in right field here at Safeco Field, trying to get it worked in. I saw him out there a couple of days in a row. But it's going to take some time.
That one not missing by much, but 3-1.
I thought it was interesting, the other part of it too, and we haven't seen it yet. But Mel said, you know, these are steps that you take, and even if he has success through an inning, that's a positive thing for him to continue to work hard at it.
Strike at the knees, a full count. And to take your point a step further, not only did he finish last year on a high note, but he began April with one of the best pitching performances for a month in franchise history.
That's exactly right. And again, I think that speaks to his talent. But at this level, and it's something that Mel talked about quite a bit today, at this level, you're talking about pitchers being able to work their way through outings when they don't have their best stuff. at this level, when maybe you're having command issues because mechanically you're out of whack, you have to be able to identify it and fix it as you go. But if you're not sure what it is, then it's tough to fix. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to give him something that he can go to.
Back-to-back walks to begin tonight's game. Facing the red-hot Carlos Beltran, riding right now a season-best 10-game hitting streak, and it's not a cheap 10 games by any means. The home run last night, 18 hits in the last 10 games for Beltran. Taiwan's first pitch strike tonight.
And one of the things that you and I talked about with Taiwan, and we've seen it this year, is how inconsistent his velocity has been on his fastball. The curveball from him. Again, Mel, I asked Mel about that. I said, with these mechanics, will it make his fastball consistently in that 94, 95, 96 mile an hour range? And he said, once he is there consistently, then yes, that will happen.
The 0-2. 3 pitches, this time all strikes.
Well, this is a good fastball from him. 94 miles an hour towards the top of the strike zone. And we were just talking about the velocity, and the reason why that is important as you take a look at our Primera Supremo is because for Taiwan, he will be able to throw his fastball more towards the middle of the plate and get away with it more often because of the extra velocity.
1 out, 2 on for Beltran. Getting a rare night off defensively this evening, DHing.
Just missing with a slider.
Mazzara at second. Desmond aboard at first. Both walks. Now the Mariners did a nice job last night against Texas, holding them to just 3 runs. They'd scored at least 6 runs in each of their last 8 games. So this has been a red-hot lineup.
And the 3 runs last night were unearned.
It was a quality start for Ariel Miranda. It was the first quality start spun against Texas since August the 26th.
It was his best outing, I thought, by far last night. He was in command of his fastball. He worked ahead with his fastball, had an excellent changeup that he was consistently going to. Mel Stottlemyre saying the same thing, that the outing by Miranda was his best so far with Seattle against a very good lineup.
One out, 2 on, and Taiwan ahead. Bejo Lee gave him chase, and a foul ball.
Starting to mix in all of his pitches. 18 pitches so far, 9 strikes.
One thing I'll be curious about when you talk about your conversation with Mel and the mechanical adjustments for Taiwan, it sounds like there's more than just one. The remaining time left, we are in the final month of the season with the limited starts left for Taiwan. If that will be a large enough sample for Taiwan to really get a feel for what those adjustments will mean for him.
Well, that's one of the reasons why they decided to do it right now, as opposed to waiting until the season was over. They wanted to give him an opportunity to pitch in some games. It looks like he'll probably get 4 starts. So that he has a good feel for it as he moves along and he gets his bullpen sessions in between those starts, and then he goes into the winter having a better idea of what it's really all about and hopefully gaining some confidence with it.
The 2-2. Tried it with the curveball, a full count. Odor on deck. Never a welcome sight. Now some lengthy at bats. This next pitch will be number 9. The walk to Desmond was a 7-pitch plate appearance.
Well, that's another luxury that the Mariners will have, and you talked about it right there. Some lengthy at bats, 22 pitches here in the first with just the 1 out. But with the expanded rosters, their bullpen is in good shape. So just more than anything, they're looking for some successes for Taiwan.
High to right center. Gutierrez there. Plenty of time for out number 2. Two outs, 2 on for Odor. Odor has been awfully tough on the Mariners this year. 5 home runs, 14 RBIs against the Mariners this season in 17 games.
He's been tough on Taiwan too. 5 for 10 with a home run.
And Profar last night did the unthinkable. He drew a walk for Odor. That was his 15th walk this year, the lowest walk rate in baseball. 2 outs and 2 on. Taiwan now 25 pitches here in the first inning. Neta calls time.
And that has been a common theme in this series for the starters, having to throw a lot of pitches early in the game. I think Miranda the only one that hasn't been in that situation.
Well, Paxton threw 31 pitches in the first. He threw 31 pitches in the second. And of course, in game 1 of this series, Felix, after breezing through the first 2 innings, throwing 9 in the first, 7 in the second, Felix threw a career high 49 pitches in the 3rd inning in game 1, and was somehow able to work into the 6th inning. Martin having a turn and move fast. Out of the track, just enough room for out number 3. Couple of runners left stranded. We go to the bottom of the first. Tonight the Mariners have a chance to join some pretty good company. They have 29 runs so far in the first 3 games of this series, as we take an in-depth look at the most runs scored in a series at Safeco Field. And the Mariners certainly have a chance to get to that 33-34 mark. The Tigers the most runs ever. That was in a 3-game series. 36 runs against the Mariners in 3 games back in 2000. And the lineup that will be in charge with putting runs across the plate.
Mariners 3rd in the American League in home runs. Heredia going to lead things off. There are a number of Mariners having success against Holland. Cano 356 with a couple of home runs. Kyle Seager 636 with a home run off of Holland. And Dae-Ho Lee 3 for 8, but 2 of those hits home runs.
Called strike 1 to Heredia.
That was a reach.
The opposite way. Beltran getting the start in right field tonight. 2 pitches and 1 out.
And for Derek Holland, a good fastball, averaging right around 92 miles an hour. Opponents hitting 266. Again, he'll mix in his curveball and slider, an occasional changeup, but his curveball, opponents hitting 255. His slider is the one that's been tough on hitters. He likes to bury that pitch in the dirt and get him to chase it. Opponents hitting just 227. His slider right around 81 miles an hour. And the defense, Nomar Mazara normally in right field. He's in left field today. Carlos Beltran, usually the DH. Beltre the DH. So Beltran is in right. Profar getting the start at third base. And Chirino's getting his first start behind the plate. Lucroy getting the night off.
Ball 1 to Goody, riding a 7-game hitting streak entering tonight. Shift is on. And time called. And we've talked from time to time about how the Mariners have the most home runs against lefties in baseball this year. One thing that really jumped out to me, Mike, Gutierrez has more homers against lefties than Mark Trumbo. Can you believe that?
Not really with the year that Trumbo was having, but Franklin has certainly done his job against lefties this year, hitting home runs. Has 12 home runs against left-handers overall. I thought it was interesting looking at the numbers today and seeing how well Seager and Cano have done. A couple of left-handed hitters in the lineup when you consider that for Holland, he's been actually almost unhittable for lefties this year, and the right-handers really taking advantage of him. So those guys having exceptional years as well off of left-handed pitching.
And Gutierrez draws a 1-out walk. You look at Holland's success since coming off the disabled list. He was placed on the 60-day DL, missed over 2 months because of a shoulder issue. Most of his success recently has come because he has limited the walks. That is not quite as true in his last start, but his first 2 off the disabled list was pounding the strike zone left and right. But an early walk against Holland here tonight.
Through those 3 starts, his ERA right at 2, so he has pitched well, holding opponents to a .219 batting average.
1 out, 1 on for Robinson Cano, an 11-game hitting streak for Cano. First pitch swinging, Andrews with a backhand. Odor jumping and on the money to first base. And that will wipe away the 1-out walk, and it will quickly bring the first inning to a close. about Taijuan's mechanical changes. Walk us through this.
Well, I think you have to understand first and foremost for Taijuan, what Mel Stottlemyre was talking about is that his front foot was pushing forward and hitting the ground first, and then he was flying open with his shoulder, so he wanted him to get back. And you can see right here tonight on the right side of your screen how he's turned back in a little bit, trying to give him a little more time to stay together so that when he pushes off and that foot comes and hits the ground, see on the left how the foot is on the ground early and his left foot on the right side is still in the air. That's giving his arm a chance to catch up. And then you can see how high his glove was. That's trying to get him back down the line as opposed to flying open. So there's a lot going on right there in a short amount of time for Taijuan since his last start to try to put all of that together. And we saw it in the first with a couple of walks where he struggled, especially on the pitches that were up in the zone. But he started to make some adjustments with it. And I think that's where they're starting right now. They also talked about his glove when he starts to separate, having his glove on his left hand get a little bit higher than where it was before. It was dropping right away. And he's trying to put all those things together and pitch in a major league game against a very good lineup.
Best team in the league.
So there's a lot there. But if he can get through, I think, a few innings and start to gain some confidence. After the 2 walks, was able to get out of that inning. And what all of this is doing is again, it's giving him some reference points to where he can go back and look at video in between innings or see if he's struggling a little bit. And he has 2, 3, maybe even 4 things that he can check on to make sure that he's hitting all those spots. Where previously he wasn't sure, and so he couldn't fix it during the game because he wasn't sure what he was doing and what he should be doing right. So Mel has really worked hard with him over the last 4 days to try to get him to this point.
If you add up all the changes, Mike, how big of a change overall do you see these mechanics being for Taijuan? This is not like a guy breaking down a swing and tearing it down to the studs, but how do you view the overall scope of this?
Well, if you consider that Taijuan had thrown a baseball off the mound the same way as Moreland hits into the shift, no problem for Cano. For a number of years, Aaron, this is breaking it down.
Really? Is it that far down?
This is a lot to deal with. When you start talking about from the ground up and you see the turn and the higher knee kick that he has going on to get his timing towards home and sitting back on his backside and that little turn in, and then with his glove movement and then trying to keep his front shoulder in, there's a lot going on there. And when you've thrown a baseball off the mound the same way for a number of years and now you're making this change, there's a lot. It gives you an idea of what a good athlete he is. To be able to just a couple of flat ground sessions, the 1 bullpen session, and bang, you're in a game against one of the best teams in the major leagues. That's difficult.
Gets Moreland to ground out to second, now facing Profar. Getting the start tonight at third base. I know from the offensive side of things you can relate to this a little bit from your early days as a big leaguer.
It's interesting that you said that because when I was talking to Mel and Mel knowing that I was not a pitcher, he related a lot of the stuff that they're trying to fix with Taijuan to hitting and what you have to do to hit. And basically loading up on your backside and not drifting forward and having your upper body moving forward, which was happening to Taijuan. You have to stay back a little bit longer, and there's a lot of timing in that. And then your hips fly, and that's when you can turn the barrel loose. Well, it's the same thing throwing a baseball. All those movements are pretty similar, and it's one of those things that you have to do consistently at the beginning of everything else, whether it's throwing the baseball or hitting the baseball, to have any sort of success at this level.
Ahead of Profar 1-2. O'Malley getting the start tonight at shortstop. 2 outs, both on the ground. Watch the drive to the pennant with MLB.TV Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on more than 400 devices and enjoy a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. You can visit MLB.TV.
I think maybe one of the best examples of all of this, Aaron, talking about it, is what we saw with James Paxton. James didn't have to make as many adjustments as Taijuan is making here in this game. And for James to change his arm level, he sent him to AAA,
right,
to work on it. And obviously that went extremely well, and now he's up here, and we've seen the talent from Paxton, but Taijuan is doing it on the fly at the major league level.
Now this is shaping up to be a very quick and efficient top of the second for Taijuan Walker. Retires the side in order. By Bank of America, life's better when we're connected. And by BNSF Railway, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. A very beautiful night here from Safeco Field as Nelson Cruz leads off the bottom of the second. Holland threw only 8 pitches in the first, a double play ball to end the inning. No team in baseball has turned more double plays than the Texas Rangers.
Standing in, having a good homestand makes me think about the last time we had Jay Buhner in the booth with us, and he was talking about Nelson. He said it seems like he's been in the 70s for his RBIs forever, and he said typically through a season you'll have that period in there where you kind of get stuck. Well, Nelson has now driven in at least 1 run in the previous 6 games, so his RBI total now to 85, but he's been hot. Just had to get out of the 70s.
He's had a wonderful series, you're right. 8 hits in these 3 games. 3 home runs, a double, and 6 ribbies. And the other night, Mike, we were talking about 2020 players in the majors right now, and how Ian Desmond for the Rangers is one of 6 right now in baseball with 20 home runs and 20 steals. And I was thinking about where that fits in Rangers history, and was reminded that Ian Kinsler had done it a number of seasons. Go back to 2009. The man inside the batter's box right now, a 2020 season for Texas. 20 steals for the boomstick.
Nelson?
Yes. How about that?
I don't think Scott Service wants him running all over the place. Just keep swinging it.
Odor over in the shift, a long throw for the second baseman.
It is amazing.
1 out, nobody on for Kyle Seager. His next home run will set a new career high. Right now sitting on 26 homers. You know, Mike, when you think about Derek Holland, there was a period of time just a few years ago where Holland was looking like he was possibly emerging as one of the certainly upper level lefties in the American League. And Seager really takes a chunk out of his foot with this one. you look at his start tonight. You take a glance at some cheering on there from Robbie.
Right above the guard. It always works that way.
It always works that way. Kyle might be thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
But you know, for Holland, tonight is just his 33rd start since the beginning of 2014. So basically a full season's worth. And there was a period of time for 3 years where Holland was averaging 195 innings a year. He did not have a track record of being injured. And we've seen a variety of injuries as Seager commits on the swing, out number 2, and has just derailed consecutive seasons for Holland. And these last few times out, the Rangers are seeing the Holland that they saw for the most part before all that.
For the most part, we showed his average fastball at 92 miles an hour. At one point, he was 95, and a pretty easy 95. So he's lost a little bit of velocity through the injuries. Still has the great slider, though. His slider, especially if you're a right-handed hitter, at times is tough to lay off of. And that has been the case since he's come off the disabled list.
Well, he was stung by this man his last time facing the Mariners. That was earlier this summer in June. Dejo took him deep not only once but twice. Two outs, nobody on, no score. Holland's 1-2.
Couple of changeups today, Holy. Typically throw 7, 8, 9 changeups over the course of the game. His last outing, he did not throw a changeup, not one.
High the opposite way. If it stays fair, it's doing damage, and it is fair. Gone. 1-0 Mariners. What a catch.
And a good at-bat for him. Able to lay off. Nice catch out there. Able to lay off with a couple of change-ups, even a slider down and in, and it's a fastball that he can handle up, out, over the plate. Doesn't try to pull it. Right on the outside corner. His 14th home run of the year.
So 2 home runs against Holland his last time against the Mariners, and a home run in his first at bat here tonight as Martin goes up the middle.
I love the leg kick, and again a towering home run to right.
That's why you bring your glove. We were just talking about bringing your glove if you're sitting in right field the other night. Two outs, Martin at first base, and here's Iannetta. There are 2 players on the Mariners roster that have an on-base percentage of .371 against lefties, the highest for any Mariners hitter this year. One is Nelson Cruz, and the other is Chris Iannetta.
Has good numbers against Holland. The Mariners have a number of hitters in their lineup. 346 with a home run.
Good speed at first base in Martin.
Kane leads the Mariners in steals with 17.
Now, the Mariners began this season taking 2 games out of 3 in Arlington against the Rangers. They have not won a series against them since, as Martin takes off, but a foul ball.
I think he had that base stolen. Went on first move. Pretty good jump.
Day-Ho leads 14th of the season has given the Mariners an early 1-0 lead. There he goes again. Torino's to second. Tag applied. They got him.
I think Scott Turk is going to hold him up. There's a high tag. Really tagged him on the helmet. Didn't have as good a jump this time. Take a look at his foot. Trying to duck underneath the tag. That is close.
And they will not challenge. We go to the top of the third, and lots of activity around the wild card going on tonight. We'll have a chance to hear what happened in the Bronx earlier tonight coming up.
Here at the Ford Sports Desk, we promised to update you on the Yankees game. The Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. It was the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and they make a pitching change. Bring in former Mariner Rasmo Ramirez, and he lets up a home run to Tyler Austin, and the Yankees walk it off for the 5-4 win. We let you know earlier that the Astros lost to the Indians, so that's good news. The bad news is that the Yankees ended up winning this one in the bottom of the ninth. Aaron.
All right, thank you, Angie. Yankees have now won 5 in a row. Torino's leads things off, looks at a strike. We take a look at our Delta Airlines keep climbing wild card standings. Tigers still knocking on the door. Yankees now a game behind Detroit. Boy, the Yankees are making a ton of noise, Mike.
And at the trade deadline, everybody thought that they were done and selling everything off.
So did Brian Cashman, probably. Day-Ho leads home run, making it 1-0 as we start the top of the third. Speaking of the Tampa Bay Rays, they have now 3 former Mariners who are splitting time at first base for them right now. Logan Morrison, Brad Miller, and now Nick Franklin playing some first base tonight. In fact, he got the start at first base. There was some thought that Brad Miller would be moving back to shortstop after getting the shift over to first base when Matt Duffy was lost for the season because of an Achilles injury. And then the Rays went out and they got Alexi Ramirez, who was released by San Diego, longtime White Sox shortstop. So like many people, maybe even Brad himself, thought that he would be going back to shortstop for the remainder of the season, but that does not appear to be the case.
I thought after moving Brad to first that maybe Nick Franklin would get an opportunity to be the shortstop.
Played there a little bit tonight. Got the start at first, went to short, then went back to first base. Nine 1-2 due up for Texas here in the third inning. Chirino swinging a pretty hot bat, 5 for his last 11.
And we're starting to see that velocity pick up for Taijuan. Talked a lot about the changes that he's made, and that was one of the things that Mel Stottlemyre said, that as he gets comfortable with it, we'll see his velocity consistently around that 95 to 97 mile an hour range, and that last fastball at 96.
The 2-2. Got a piece of him.
Hit him with a curveball.
When you purchase $200 of officially licensed player merchandise at a Mariners team store, you'll receive a free autographed baseball signed by one of your favorite Mariners. For more details on this limited time gift with purchase, visit a Mariners team store. 2 walks and a hit batter now, the first time through the order for Taijuan Walker. Had sat down 6 in a row before then. Mazzara a walk on 4 pitches to begin the ball game tonight. High the opposite way. Heredia is there. Plenty of time for round number 1. One out, 1 on for Ian Desmond.
And we're getting a chance to see the other element of all the different mechanical changes we were talking about, is Taijuan making it happen out of the stretch. Now for him, a little bit of an advantage because his windup isn't a full windup anyway, but it's still a little bit different.
Last year we saw Taijuan really struggle at the beginning of the season with runners on base. Became much better in the second half. This year it's been a struggle mostly all season. Desmond right back into center field. Chirinos checks in at second base.
And we'll take a look at our Primera Supermo, and it's the second hop. A lot of top spin on it, takes off and just shoots into center field.
One out, first and second now for the Rangers. It brings in Beltran. Beltran struck out on 3 pitches in the first inning, and he starts off with swinging rather at strike 1 here.
Good changeup on the outside corner at the knees.
First and second, 1 out. This year opponents are hitting .307 against Taijuan with runners in scoring position and a very lofty OPS. We talk all the time about hitting with runners in scoring position, but we rarely talk about the ability to pitch with runners in scoring position, something that Felix does so well.
close. Very close, Tom.
I think one of the reasons why Felix pitches so well with runners in scoring position is because the hitters, one, are anxious. They want to drive the runs in. And I think Felix at that point, you'll see him time and time again. You'll see more off-speed pitches. You'll see the changeup more. Has the ability to get a ground ball with it. And really has an idea that how aggressive these hitters want to be when they have those guys out there. And Felix can take some off, which is something that is learned over a period of time.
Beltre on deck. The 3-1 on the ground and through. Chirinos hits the bag and turns home. The throw from Goody to the plate. Not in time. Tied ball game.
Strong throw from Franklin. Easy one hop for Iannetta, just a little bit up the line. If it had been on the plate, I think they have him. And you can see Chirinos' hand right in the middle of the plate. No problem there. He certainly touched it.
That's now an 11-game hitting streak for Beltran. So the hit by pitch to begin the inning comes around to score. Still 1 out and 2 on for Beltre. Go ahead, run in scoring position.
Oh, come on, Up. You gotta stick with that. Adrian,
Year after year, Beltre just continues to be one of the most productive offensive players in the league, especially at his position. Desmond at second base, Beltran at first. And the 1-1. Hard hit through left field. Desmond being waved in. Heredia's throw coming home to the plate. The tag.
Wow.
And he got him.
What a great play all the way around. Strong throw from Heredia. Perfect one hop. But how about the play by Chris Iannetta with the big runner right on top of him. Last second makes the catch and is able to hang on to it. What a play.
In full speed.
That is not easy to do as a catcher.
This ball hit him, Mike?
I think it just grazed his leg as he starts to slide, deflects it just a little bit, and then you can see him move. Great concentration by Iannetta. They're going to challenge to see if Chris was blocking the plate. He definitely was able to give him plenty of room to hit the back of the plate. I didn't see anything wrong with that. The throw is what takes him into him. You have to have the opportunity to make the catch. So I think Chris is okay all the way around. Again, when he initially sets up, he has to be able to give him the outside or the backside of the plate. And you can see clearly has to get in there to make the catch. I would think that's okay. There's the lane, and then he starts to move as he sees the throw. And he actually had his left foot on the right side of the foul line, and then he stepped in to make the catch. Unreal that he was able to hold on to it.
That's amazing. The angle that we showed a moment ago
Here's his starting position. He's in good shape there, and then he makes the adjustment, and he is out.
They call him out. What a play that was. You know,
and a perfect throw from Heredia.
Absolutely. The angle that we showed a moment ago, the full speed in real time, the look up the line at third base, gives you an idea from an umpire standpoint, from a catcher standpoint, everybody involved, how fast this game can move.
It's a great point. I think when you look at that play and just the last second adjustment that Chris had to make the catch with the runner right on top of him. And I think you're right. I think it grazed the leg of Desmond as he was sliding into home.
Remarkable play. That brings in Odor.
Yes.
Here's normal speed.
That's great.
On the money.
I think too through the last couple of base hits to Beltran and then Beltre, and I think sometimes pitchers don't look at it this way. The pitching coach will look at it this way. I'm sure Scott will talk about it too. But both base hits are ground ball base hits, and Taijuan was trying to get the ball on the ground to hopefully get a double play. And unfortunately, they find a hole, one through the right side of the infield, the other through the left side of the infield. So they're actually good pitches, but they end up picking up hits on it.
We've seen Paxton be a victim to that at times this year. The 1-1. Now Taijuan now over 60 pitches as we play with 2 outs here in the third. Go ahead run remains at second base. That's Beltran. Into right field. Beltran coming around, and the Rangers have taken a 2-1 lead. With 2 strikes against him, Odor picks up his 82nd RBI this year.
That is another ground ball hit. So 4 ground ball hits in a row. Mel Stottlemyre making a trip out to the mound. Showed the team average for the Rangers at .281 hitting with runners in scoring position. They are 3 for 6 in this game.
Hang in there, go.
Runners on the corners. It brings in Moreland. 23 pitches this inning for Taijuan. Had a lengthy top of the first, but was able to strand 2 base runners. Had a quick 1-2-3 second. Has run into some problems here in the third. Check swing, does not go. Seager dancing into foul territory. Adjustment made and the catch made as well. Moreland is out number 3. 4 consecutive ground ball singles from the Rangers, and they have taken a 2-1 lead. we go to the bottom of the third inning. We take a glance now at our CenturyLink. What's next? The Mariners heading on to the Bay Area. 3-game series beginning tomorrow night. We hit the airwaves at 6:30. Game 1 against the A's. Iwakuma seeking yet another quality start. An ERA right now 4.01, a quality start his last time out against the Angels. As Ionetta leads things off, but it will be Kuma, Felix, and Paxton in those 3 games.
Pitching matchups favor the Mariners, I would say.
Graveman's had a good year overall for the A's, but tells you something when Kendall Graveman has been the most consistent starting pitcher for Bob Melvin this year.
It seems that Felix typically pitches well down in the Bay Area.
Would say so.
Yeah.
Hollins 1-1. Really, it is remarkable when you look at the standings of the West that there are two teams more than 20 games outside of first place. Brutal years in Anaheim and in Oakland. And imagine how many games out the Angels would be if not for Mike Trout, and how many fewer RBIs Albert Pujols would have if not for Mike Trout. Still 2-2 to Ionetta. Will be followed by O'Malley and then Heredia.
All the games that the Mariners have played against the Angels this year, obviously going to play 3 more as they go down to Anaheim after Oakland.
Strike 3 called.
It is amazing the games that they've had with the Angels, whether they're close games, winning games, losing games, the impact that Mike Trout has had in all of them.
It's been devastating.
Yeah.
Now, he has never finished lower than 2nd in the American League MVP voting. We will see if that continues this year or not. There are plenty of candidates to choose from in the league this season, and there's no question that Trout is on the most woeful team in terms of the win-loss record. Strike 1 to O'Malley.
Well, I think he's the best player. Whether he wins the MVP or not is another thing. I think
it's kind of funny how that's 2 different things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that typically you not only have to have a great year, but your team has to do well, and you have to have a real impact on that team. And unfortunately, the Angels have really struggled, but not to any fault of Mike Trout or Albert Pujols for that matter.
Absolutely. Still nothing at 2 to O'Malley. So much momentum, it seems like, forming behind Mookie Betts for good reason.
What a year. 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. Who thought that was going to happen?
Can you imagine Trout in the Red Sox lineup? Now that's a nightmare.
I would be fine with that because I would get him out of the West.
All strikes to O'Malley so far.
Talking to Scott Service yesterday about O'Malley, and he was saying that it's a real luxury to have somebody that is a switch hitter, can run like him, but more importantly play defense the way that he does regardless of where he puts them. And tonight getting the opportunity to play shortstop and picking up a base hit. Some of that speed on the bases.
Bounces to Mazzaro, 1-out single. One out, 1 on. And we look at this immense run of lefties that the Mariners have been seeing recently. They will see only 1 lefty in Anaheim for that 3-game series against the Angels. That's Tyler Skaggs. It seems like every other week the Mariners are seeing Tyler Skaggs.
It really does. But the good news is on the road trip, 6 games, 5 right-handed hitters. So Seth Smith and Adam Lind will get to play. Both of them having monster games yesterday. Nice to see them back in the lineup regularly.
Seth has homered in back-to-back games. 1 out, 1 on for Heredia. I mentioned earlier Holland's success against the Mariners overall, but he's had even better success pitching here inside Safeco Field. Lifetime a 2.65 ERA here in Seattle, and that includes 5 earned over 5 innings in his last start. He has told us before that he does like the mound, which might sound simplistic, but it's a big deal. There's no doubt that it is.
Yeah, you would probably think when you go to all the ballparks that the mound is the same and that the hitting area around home plate is the same, but it's not.
The home plate could always be crooked.
That can happen. I don't think that's the case anymore, but at Old Tiger Stadium it certainly was the case. But I think in the new ballparks now that I think everything's
leveled it out.
I think it's straight. Yeah.
Has become a priority. Two balls and a strike to Heredia with the tying run at first base and O'Malley. Slashed foul. It's been a tough year for the Mariners against the Rangers. They are 6-12 against the best team in the American League, the second best team in baseball behind only the Cubs. But the Mariners tonight do have a chance for a series win.
And we were talking a lot about Taiwan and the adjustments he made, and Mel Stottlemyre was talking to me and referring it to hitting and drifting forward with the upper body as a hitter and what that does. Takes a little bit longer for the barrel to get through the hitting area. And I said, oh, you mean like Heredia? And he said, exactly. I talked to Scott Service about Heredia yesterday. He likes him a lot, and I asked him about all the guys that they have that can run. Looking at Gamble, Heredia, O'Malley, obviously they're all not going to be on the team next year, and what he thought. And he said that he thinks he has a lot of ability, but you can see his upper body start to move forward and kind of jams himself. So they're working with him, and he'll continue to work on that over the course of the winter. He certainly has some ability.
Does not go around. Full count.
But okay, he'll continue to work and try to stay back a little bit longer. And that's a minor adjustment that he can make.
1 out, O'Malley at first base. It's a fairly violent swing from Heredia. He does not look like he is.
Well, he's playing catch up because when he drifts forward, Aaron, he has to catch up with the barrel, and it's always lagging because of that. And that's the reason why. Because he has good hands and his hand-eye coordination is good too. But when your head starts moving and your body's moving forward, the barrel's constantly trying to catch up. So it is a more violent swing.
O'Malley to second, making the turn. He's on his way to third without a throw. Runners on the corner.
And there's the speed we were talking about with Sean O'Malley. Most base runners would not be standing on third right now. Desmond in center field has a strong throwing arm, former shortstop. But O'Malley, that's an automatic for him. So Heredia will pick up a base hit back up the middle, and then Sean flying around second. So a good opportunity for Franklin Gutierrez to drive in a run.
O'Malley is the tying run, now 90 feet from home. Goody a walk on 5 pitches his last time out. So a good chance here for the Mariners with 1 out. Runners on the corners, down by a run here in the 3rd inning. Facing Holland, who has strung together 3 consecutive quality starts since coming off the disabled list. Was there for over 2 months. First pitch strike. It would stand to reason that if you're going to beat Holland, it will be the right-handers in the lineup to do the damage. Righties hitting .273 against Holland. Lefties .215. Good stop by Chirinos.
And the other part about it is he's given up 11 home runs this year, now 12 home runs this year, and 11 of the 12 by right-handed hitters, including the home run by Dae-Ho Lee in this game.
And he's given up 3 this year to Dae-Ho Lee. The only left-handed hitter to take Holland deep this season, Kyle Seager. The 1-1. Looks at ball 2.
It's one of the keys, and we're seeing it in this inning with Holland and his off-speed pitches. Before going on the disabled list, he could get hitters to chase it about 34-35% of the time, but since then he's closer to 42%. So a big jump, and big key to this is for the Mariners to lay off of that pitch down out of the strike zone. They've done a pretty good job of it.
Any reason you can figure behind that, Mike?
The increase?
Chasing.
My guess would be that he's doing a better job of locating his fastball, and he has a little better fastball now that he's healthy. So hitters have a tendency to cheat to try to get to it, and then when that slider's in the dirt, it's tough to lay off of it. But I think if you can set your sights up a little bit higher, it starts down just to take it. You have a better chance than a good at-bat from Gutierrez to get the walk.
He has walked twice, and the bases are loaded. Make September 29th a night out of the ballpark with the entire family. You can get in on the action for less when you buy Safeco Insurance Grand Slam Family Package. A ticket, hot dog, and Pepsi are available at a very special package value price. Secure your savings at Mariners.com. A visit out to the mound.
Yeah, if you've been watching this series, again, a 4-game series, the Mariners winning 2 of the first 3. You're probably pretty familiar with the pitching coach of the Rangers, Doug Brocail, because the Mariners have scored a lot of runs and he's made a lot of trips.
He's been in your living room often.
Yes.
Bags packed for Robinson Cano. Bounced to a double play on the first pitch that he saw in his only other at-bat tonight. Robbie 1 home run shy of matching a career high. Ball 1.
Well, with Heredia out at second base, a base hit he should score. That would give him 86 RBIs on there, or 88 RBIs on the year, tying in with Kyle Seager for the team lead. More importantly, giving the Mariners a 1-run lead.
The 1-0. Chasing outside. O'Malley, the man at third base right now for the Mariners. Heredia, more good speed at second base, and then Gutierrez just took ball 4. Talking about the struggles for lefties against Holland, especially with home runs, a couple in the career for Cano against Holland. Lays off this time. Cano an 11-game hitting streak. If you zoom out even more, hits in 20 of his last 22 games. Batting .375 in that span, so he has been red hot.
Let's drill this one, Robbie.
The 2-1 came in on him.
Like a two-seam fastball at 93 miles an hour.
Mariners a chance for a huge third inning here. And time called. Bases loaded, 1 out. Cano down swinging.
Well, after the fastball in on his hands, he comes right back with the slider. That's his best pitch. That's a big reason why left-handed hitters had a tough time against Holland this year. See Robbie well out in front of the slider.
Bases still loaded, but now 2 outs. And brings in Nelson Cruz, a ground ball out his last at bat. On a line, but pulled foul. When you have the power of Nelson Cruz, it must be so hard in these situations just to think.
Solid contact.
Solid contact, baby.
Well, with Nelson, solid contact, he could pick up all of them.
You're right. Even without it, he could. Bases loaded, 2 outs. The 0-1 makes it 0-2. Now the Mariners had 3 straight men reach, a couple of singles, a walk, then the strikeout to Cano.
Amazing earlier this year when Nelson hit the home run and broke his bat. Not many hitters in this league can accomplish that.
One and 2.
You can see Holland is trying to get the hitters out with his off-speed pitches, and he'll just show the fastball. And typically, he'll either elevate it like he just did, or he'll throw it well inside off the plate, and then come right back off speed again.
O'Malley at third base, the tying run.
There's the slider in off the plate. Talking a lot about Taijuan Walker and his pitch count. Holland now 32 pitches here in the inning. 61 pitches total as he works here in the third.
The 1-2. Back-to-back strikeouts from Holland with the bases loaded. Mariners can't cash in. Difference of the game. It's early on, but we've already had a couple of plays at the plate, Mike.
We have Franklin Gutierrez, strong throw, not able to get the runner, and then Guillermo Heredia, a one-hop throw and a great play by Iannetta at the plate to hang on to it.
That was challenged by Jeff Bannister, wondering if Iannetta was blocking the plate. And Mike, this is what you were talking about, the initial setup versus the setup where he had to get to the ball.
That's exactly right. As long as his initial setup gives the back part of the plate to the runner to slide to without any contact, you're in pretty good shape, but you still have the ability to move and even get in the baseline if the throw takes you there, and that's exactly what happened on that play.
First pitch strike to Profar. And as we have learned over the years with challenge reviews, even if you challenge blocking the plate, they will still look at whether or not that tag was made in time. So it's not an isolated challenge in that regard. Quickly 0-2. Right back to Taiwan. Nice start to the top of the fourth.
Couple of ground ball outs in the second inning. 4 hits in the third, but all of them on the ground, and then that ground ball out. So Taiwan's starting to feel a little more comfortable. The mechanical changes that he has made certainly appears that way, and we're starting to see his fastball. Remember, in the first inning, really struggling to get the ball down, and now we're seeing it consistently down. When he's elevated it, it's because he's ahead in the count and has wanted to.
On a line, smoked into left field. Heredia moving back, and he's able to drops it. Andrew, shades of a couple of nights ago, stands up at second base.
Well, you're right about that. A couple of nights ago, he had 4 hits, 3 doubles, and a home run, and thought this was going to be a great play by Heredia in left field, able to get back in time. He has it right on the end of his glove and tried to secure it, and that's when he dropped it. He had about half the ball in the webbing, and he tried to, he tried to secure it, and that's when he dropped it.
A double for Andrews with 1 out. Torino's hit by a pitch back in the third, later scored. On the first pitch to Martin, right in line with him. 2 outs.
This will be the 3rd time through the lineup for the Rangers. Nomar Mazara, leadoff hitter. Going to get his 3rd plate appearance. He has a walk and is also flown out to left field.
And we were not familiar with Mazara until early this season, a rookie out of the Dominican Republic. But the Rangers were aware of Mazara many, many years ago. They signed him as a 16-year-old for $5 million. So they had high hopes for Mazara from day one. Winning the Rookie of the Year award in the American League in April and May. Talking with some on the Rangers side today, they are hoping that Shin-Soo Choo will be back in time for the first round of the playoffs. He is again on the disabled list. He's had a very injury-plagued season, so Mazara has, for the most part, been the Rangers' leadoff man, and has seen a lot of time in right field as a result. Right to O'Malley on a couple of bounds. That will conclude the top of the fourth. Andrews, after that scorched double, and stranded in scoring position. local agent at Safeco.com. And by CHI Franciscan Health, the Mariners' official partners in health. Learn to stay healthy, Northwest Healthy, at nwhealthy.org. 2-1 Texas. On to the bottom of the fourth inning. That's where Kyle Seager leads off. So we made mention earlier that Seager is the only lefty to take Holland deep this year. If you go back to the start of 2014, Seager leads baseball in left-on-left homers. This is cracked. Shallow left center field, drops in for a base hit. Leadoff man aboard for the Mariners. First time tonight.
Well, Holland was able to strike Kyle out on the breaking ball his first time up. Goes right back to the breaking ball, well located on the outside corner at the knees, and Kyle hits it off the end of the bat, but he'll take the base hit.
Fairly animated Elvis Andrus. Tying run is aboard for Dae-Ho Lee. The home run in the second. We were mentioning the other night, Mike, that Dae-Ho recently in his hot string of hitting had been picking up a lot of singles. He had a span of 12 hits where 11 of which were singles, 1 double, and it seemed like for Scott Servais he wanted to get Dae-Ho back to kind of where we saw him in the early parts of the season, and well, the fruitage of that, Dae-Ho going the opposite way for a home run.
Well, sometimes you have to walk before you run, and I think for him he was getting to the point to where he had to have been getting frustrated, and you start back to basics, and that is put the ball in play, try to square it up, take your base hits, and let the home runs eventually work their way there. I have to believe Dae-Ho Lee and Franklin Gutierrez ended up getting hot almost at the same time, and it's been because of this run of left-handers that we've seen, so their timing is a lot better. They're able to slow the game down a little bit more.
Pours a strike in to make it 3-1. Martin on deck. Seager, a leadoff single, is aboard at first base.
A little bit surprised that he took that fastball. I can understand 3-0. Some guys just aren't comfortable. Not sure he had the green light with nobody out, but I thought 3-1 he would get after that last pitch. 92 miles an hour right in the middle of the plate.
Now the 3-2. 2 on. Single and a walk. Seager moves into second. I'll be sure to stick around after the game for Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines with Brad and Val. Mariners tonight hoping for a series win. They'll come from behind to get it. I've already seen 1 home run tonight from Dae-Ho Lee. The Mariners maybe have something working here in the bottom of the fourth.
Team meeting on the mound. Entire infield, including the catcher, on the mound. Catcher's on his way back, Chirinos, but everybody else still there. Let's see how Scott Servais wants to play it. Early in the ball game, I'm not sure that he would call a sacrifice. Talking to Scott, one of the things that he will do in this situation is leave it up to the hitter on what they want to do. And you see Martin try to bunt for base hits over the course of the year, and he may try it again right here. And if he fails, at least move the runners up. Profar, the third baseman tonight, in on the grass. Martin had a base hit his first time up. First pitch swing, hit a fastball right back up the middle.
Well, as Holland starts Martin off with ball 1, Holland's now walked his 3rd batter. That's back-to-back starts with 3 walks His first 2 starts coming off the disabled list, only 1 walk combined. And that was really big news in DFW for Holland in his first 2 starts since missing over 2 months on the disabled list because of a shoulder issue. That he had this wonderful command, that he was pouring strikes, that he wasn't walking batters, and now in these last 2 starts now 3 walks his last time out, 3 walks here tonight, and we only have nobody out here in the 4th.
I wonder how much of that is to the scouting reports. We were talking about the chase percentage on the breaking balls out of the zone.
Into center, past Andrews. Seager into third base. Dejo leader second, and for the 2nd straight inning, the Mariners have the bases loaded. Martin 2 for 2.
It's going to cost him a bat. Take a look at it. It jams him and breaks his bat. See pieces of the wood flying off, and that's the reason why Kyle Seager had to hold up. He wasn't sure if Andrus was going to be able to make the catch on the soft line drive. With nobody out, you have to make sure it gets into the outfield, and Kyle did that. And a great opportunity again for the Mariners. This time bases loaded with nobody out. Last inning was bases loaded with 1 out.
First pitch to Iannetta. Swinging line drive left field. Mariners have at least tied this one up. Here is Seager. DeHoly rounding. This ball is all the way to the corner, and the Mariners have taken the lead here in the 4th inning. Chris Iannetta, first pitch swinging. 3-2 Mariners.
Iannetta with good numbers against Holland. Sure, one of the reasons why he's in the lineup, and aggressive, as Aaron mentioned. Off-speed pitch, just 81 miles an hour, and just over the outstretched arm of Profar, the third baseman. This is a really good situation for O'Malley right here. You have well above average speed at third in Martin. He wants to push a bunt here, which he usually tries to do it at least once in a start. He might be able to pick up an RBI and also move up Iannetta from second to third. I'm sure he'll at least try to hit the ball the other way if he doesn't drop down a bunt. But taking that fastball at 93, right on the inside corner.
Claudio warming up in the bullpen. Well, Iannetta had certainly seen his playing time decrease in the 2nd half. But before that base hit to drive in 2, Iannetta had 1 run batted in since the All-Star break. Ball and 2 strikes to O'Malley.
Aaron, you were talking about the walks. The Mariners really done a number on his pitch count. Holland now at 77 pitches. Pardon me, 76 pitches. His pitch count climbing on him.
Skied high. 1 down. Always some good eats in the Hit It Here Cafe. Well, we made mention of this, Mike, at the very top of the broadcast, that historically Holland has had very good numbers against the Mariners, but his last 5 times out, an ERA over 5. We mentioned his last start, 5 earned runs in 5 innings against the Mariners, so it's been a little different last few times out for Holland against Seattle.
Again, I think you look at the scouting reports, and he's getting hitters to chase his slider out of the strike zone, and the Mariners really have done a pretty good job overall as a team not to chase that pitch and make him get the ball up in the zone.
Strike 1 to Heredia.
Heredia 1 for 2. Had a base hit right back up the middle his last time up.
Martin at third. Iannetta at second. Up the middle weakly. Odor can't get it. Everybody's safe and Martin scores. 4-2 Mariners.
See if they give him an infield hit. I'm not sure if Odor, if he feels it, would have been able to get Heredia with his speed. He will pick up an RBI.
It is an infield single. Looked like that ball took a last second hop.
It's right off the end of the bat, so it could have been spinning sideways a little bit, and you can see Odor reaching for it. I think it was one of those plays too with Odor knowing the speed of Heredia, trying to cut that angle down a little bit more so he could get to it quicker and get rid of it. It's the only chance he had. Second visit by the pitching coach Doug Brocail. He was out at the mound in the last inning. Mariners are now 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position.
Iannetta into third. Here is Goody. 1 out, runners on the corners. 33 pitches in the third. 18 pitches here in the fourth to get 1 out.
And nobody has been more patient than Franklin Gutierrez. A couple of walks for him so far in the game.
Strike 1. And he falls behind 0-2. Already leading at first. Keep an eye on him there. But it was in the third inning, the 33 pitch third inning, where the Mariners could not cash in. Bases loaded, 1 out. Cano and Cruz both struck out, but the Mariners here in the fourth have taken the lead after loading up the bases right out of the gates. Still 0-2. Aside from this now 3-run fourth, the Mariners got the scoring started tonight with Dae-Ho Lee. His 14th home run the opposite way, just inside the foul pole. Again the 0-2.
And Holland now at 83 pitches with 1 out here in the fourth inning. See the Mariners hitting .266 overall. 3 for 6 tonight.
Now Claudio continuing to warm in the bullpen for Texas. Three runs in this inning, looking for more with 1 out.
Another long at bat by a Mariner hitter. Franklin down 0-2 right away, and this will be the 7th pitch of this at bat. Still a 1-2 count. He's fouled off a number of pitches.
Now for Goody, a 5-pitch walk in the first, and the same story in the third. Iannetta at third base, Heredia the man at first. A lot of face time in this series for Doug Brocail. First year pitching coach for Texas. Taking over for Mike Maddox, who's now in our nation's capital with the Nationals. Fourth foul ball with 2 strikes. And he is helping to just chew apart Holland's pitch count.
88 pitches now, excuse me, 87 pitches now, and Franklin's seen 18 of them.
Yeah, you're right. You know what else, Mike? We've seen the speed guys in this lineup for the Mariners on base more times than not. Heredia twice. O'Malley 1 for 2. Martine's been on twice, 2 for 2 with a couple of singles.
That helps, doesn't it?
We've seen a lot of that. Throws to first. Just missing. Pitch number 10 is coming up.
From an 0-2 count, is able to work it back to full as Cano waits on deck.
This 4th inning has been a struggle for Holland. Pitch number 10 out of the way home, and he finally finishes off Gutierrez.
Still didn't give in to him, went right back to the breaking ball again, even with a 3-2 count. And here's a look at it. Franklin out in front. Mariners now 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. You take a look at our Primera Supermo and the swing by Franklin.
Two outs, runners at first and third. Cano looking for his first hit tonight. Robbie ready to go.
So far he has consistently kept that breaking ball away from Cano. He throws him a fastball, it's been in off the plate.
Now the slider has been his best swing and miss pitch this year. We've been talking about that. Opponents hitting barely .210 against it overall this season. And of course especially tough on lefties.
There it is again.
Oh, and 2 on Cano with runners on the corners, 2 outs. The 0-2.
31 pitches in the inning.
33 last inning. Got off to a pretty good start for Holland. Has not been quite the same since. Back to the slider, 2-2. Even in that relatively quick second, he did give up the home run to Dae-Ho Lee. Now Chirinos out for a word.
I just think it's a really good example of the Mariners in their scouting report. Edgar Martinez running the meeting, giving them a game plan, and it was clearly to try to lay off of the ball down in the zone, because Holland has consistently gone there and the Mariners have not really chased it much at all.
Chopping Andrews on the run, and that will end the inning. But 3 runs in for the Mariners here this 4th, and they have taken the lead over Texas.
The Ford Sports Desk, reminding you to use that hashtag #WhereIRoot presented by Alaska Airlines, because when you use that hashtag, it gives us permission to use your photos on the air. Cindy sent this one in. Look at this, Edgar signed her jersey. Way to go, Edgar. And then it's apparently Tay's first Mariners game. Megan sent this photo in, and she's a little bit excited. I would not recommend the Dippin' Dots then. And Sarah and her crew traveled all the way from Destin, Florida to root on the Mariners. Good looking group there. Use that hashtag #WhereIRoot presented by Alaska Airlines. Aaron.
All right, thank you, Ange. Ian Desmond leads off the top of the 5th. Taijuan Walker pitching now with a 4-2 lead.
Such a long bottom of the 4th inning. Taijuan had a nice rest in the dugout. He was in there for about half an hour.
You're right.
Taijuan, keep it going, keep it going.
Desmond, a walk, a single, and was also cut down at home.
There you go. Oh yeah.
Taijuan's 1-2. The splits this year for Desmond really stand out. In Arlington, batting .341 on the road, hitting .240. And the OPS 200 points higher at home as well. All that being said, his home runs have been pretty evenly matched between home and road this year. The overall power numbers favoring much better at home, especially getting on base. But an all-star this year for Texas for good reason. Time called. Shot the opposite way, and trouble. This is crushed. Not an easy ballpark for a right-handed hitter to take it out to right field. Desmond's 22nd brings Texas a run closer. 4-3 Mariners.
Well, that's a situation. As you take a look at this fastball, set up on the outside corner, be right in the middle of the plate. But it looked like Iannetta wanted to go with another off-speed pitch. Taiwan shaking off the changeup and the curveball, wanting to throw the fastball to the outside corner. Fortunately, he missed his location and paid the price for it.
He goes around 0-2 to Beltran. RBI single for Beltran back in the third, extending what is a season best now 11-game hitting streak. 19 hits in those 11 games. Rolled over to first base. Dae-Ho Lee with the flip. 1 out. Now we'll take a look at the Mariners calendar, brought to you by Sleep Train. The Mariners have a chance to gain some ground in the wild card race. Off to Oakland after this one's done tonight. 3 with the A's over the weekend. Day baseball on Saturday. And then a 3-game series against the Angels. The Mariners with 6 games on the road against the 2 worst teams in the division. And then a day off before a very tough homestand. Weekend series against the Astros. Then the Blue Jays coming to town. Toronto knocked out from the top spot in the East. Just recently swept in Yankee Stadium.
When you look at the wild card standings, unfortunately for the Mariners, there's a few teams that are ahead of them. But the one team that they can do some damage to is Houston. They have 6 games left with them. 3 here and then 3 in Houston.
Correa had to leave the team to get his shoulder examined. Their bright young shortstop, Dallas Keuchel, who although has been having a very difficult year, he is going to miss multiple starts because of health issues as well. His future is really completely unknown.
Not going to get McCullers back.
Right. And we've seen what McCullers can do. One of the best curveballs in the league. And we were looking at this today, Mike, before the game began, long before the game began. Looked at your 95 team for the Mariners. Now the difference is you're chasing down one team.
Correct.
In California. A little different for the Mariners as you see Scribner warming up. 2-1 to Beltran. Evens the count up. Right now in the wild card standings, the Mariners needing to hurdle, speaking of 95, the Royals, the Yankees, the Astros, and the Tigers. The Yankees are red hot right now. They've won 5 in a row. But Beltran waits back on a curve and thumps it into left field. 1 out single for the ageless one, Adrian Beltran.
This swing up around the visor of his helmet. He just tomahawks in the left as he goes down to one knee, and Mariner fans have seen that before.
They don't teach that, do they?
I don't think so. The one thing about Adrian is once he gets 2 strikes, he is in swing mode, and he can hit pitches out of the strike zone, pick up some base hits. He's having a good year, leads the club in RBIs with 92, 26 home runs on the year, and hitting .291 at the start of today. Quick visit from Mel Stottlemyre. I understand your point when you look at that with the teams that are ahead of the Mariners, and when we were chasing the Angels. About this time we were around 6 games back.
Yeah, this date 1995 you were 6 games behind.
What we had to do was control what we could control, and that was our games, and we had to put a pretty good winning streak together, and I believe that we did, and that's all the Mariners can try to do too.
I would say winning 14 of 16 was a pretty good streak.
We scored some runs.
You certainly did. We were looking at the game by games. It was impressive. Some games you needed to score those runs. Others
no,
it was
right.
just a bludgeoning.
You're right. So for the Mariners, all the point is just go out and continue to win games. Having a good series against the Rangers with an opportunity to win the series. It's always tough to win a 4-game series, and they had that opportunity now. And then, as you mentioned, the schedule on this next road trip, there's a real opportunity for him to do some damage right there as Scribner continues to get loose in the pen.
Taiwan approaching 90 pitches.
A good curveball from him.
We've seen that pitch a little bit more third time through.
I think he started to throw a little bit more in his second time through, mixing in his slider to go along with his fastball. And for me, the thing that I like about it is typically it's been down in the zone. Now, the one that he left up to Beltre, most hitters will take that pitch as opposed to tomahawk a line drive into left.
Just foul. Now Odor, not an easy man to face, especially these days. He represents the go-ahead run for Texas. He has 30 home runs on the year.
Right off the toe, that'll slow him down a little bit. We saw Kyle Seager earlier in the game hit a ball off with his shin, and it looked painful. And I was just watching when he ran back onto the field with his glove at the end of the fourth. He was limping on his way out there, so we'll have to keep an eye on Kyle. My guess would be that he'll make it through 9 and ice it up after the game.
Once again, the 1-2.
You mentioned it earlier, Aaron, for Odor picking up his 15th walk on the year, and we know from him he's in swing mode also. He wants to swing the bat, and that last pitch was well off the plate away, able to foul it off.
Another batter's box. There goes Beltre.
And the last pitch in off the plate.
I mean, some people would look at the walk rate for Odor. It is the lowest among any hitter in baseball, and say, well, can't you try to make him chase outside? But as we're seeing in this one at bat alone, it's maybe not that easy.
I think right now with the year that he's having, you just let him go, and then hopefully as he matures and plays more in this league, that's something that will come along with time. But with him, he's being aggressive this year. He's having a big year. I think 282 with 30 home runs. You just let him go right now. I think as he continues to develop and improve, that's something that he will probably figure out on his own. I'm sure that it's been mentioned to him, but right now I think you just leave it alone.
Accept the 30 bombs and move on.
Yeah.
Beltre at first, 1 out. A run already in.
We've seen him this year too make some base running mistakes.
Absolutely.
But you have to remember he's a young player.
This was a guy that at one point last year was optioned down to AAA. Was struggling so much.
Let's get in. There we go.
Odor is able to strike out for round number 2, and for Taiwan that is strikeout number 2 on the night. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Brings in Mitch Moreland. A big out number 2. Strike 1. Moreland not having as good of a year as last in terms of the average, as the clock is ticking on Taiwan. But he is a home run shy of matching his single season high. 0-2. Taiwan trying to get through 5 full innings here tonight. Tying run at first. The 0-2. Shift is on.
And at 98 pitches, you have to believe this will be the last inning for Taiwan.
Yes.
2-2. Ionetta keeping an eye on Beltre, who reached on a single into left.
Replay that in your mind, out.
Pitch number 100 from Taiwan.
Go on, Taiwan. Let's get him now.
Profar, the switch hitter, on deck 0 for 2. Time call.
Get him.
Now Moreland, a dangerous left-handed hitter, 22 home runs. As Taiwan is nearing the end of his road here tonight. Gave up a homer to Desmond to begin this 5th inning. Beltre the tying run at first.
He still has a good fastball. Last fastball 94 miles an hour.
Last batter, Odor, 9 pitches to finally strike out. The 3-2. And Moreland has fouled off a couple of pitches now with the 3-2 count.
For Taiwan, his season high is 118 pitches. That was back in April against Houston when he was on a really good run, pitching well.
No time better for Taiwan than April this year. Moreland is the go-ahead run. The 3-2.
Another long at bat. This will be the 9th pitch of this at bat.
Scribner warmed up and ready to go. Pitch number 9. Well, there was a 7-pitch walk to Desmond in the 1st inning, a 9-pitch at bat to Beltre in that same first. I mentioned 9 pitches to Odor, the last batter before Moreland. 8 pitches to Chirinos before he was hit by a pitch. And once again the 3-2. Got him swinging. And that will end the top of the 5th for Taiwan Walker. A run in, but the Mariners still up by 1. Time now for Bank of America alerts. We check in down to the farm of the postseason as Double-A Jackson, Single-A Clinton have both taken a 2-0 series lead in their respective playoffs. Tyler O'Neill, a walk-off home run last night. He has homered once again tonight, representing the Mariners in the Futures game earlier this summer. And the Aqua Sox beginning their playoff push tonight. Aqua Sox right now leading 6-4 in Spokane. As we take a look at Darren Holland. And of course tomorrow night, game 2, 7:15 the first pitch. On the first pitch to Andrews. A wide throw, but the tag has been applied.
And Andrews a little bit lazy with the throw, and he clearly tags him. Good play by Moreland at first.
And by the way, game 2 of that Everett postseason series tomorrow night. That seems like it'd be a really fun game to come to here at Safeco Field. The Mariners will of course be in Oakland, but you can pick up tickets starting tomorrow morning at the Safeco Field box office beginning at 10 a.m. All seats $12 to come see some short season A playoff baseball, and the thrill for those guys, Mike.
First of all, I get to see some future Mariners.
For sure.
Get a chance to watch them, and they will be super excited to play here at Safeco Field. So what a great opportunity for those guys in Everett to get a chance to play here.
And that is a best-of-3 series. So the Aqua Sox right now winning, as we mentioned, 8-4. They are playing in the 8th, so if they can hold on to that, a chance to take the series tomorrow night here from Safeco. Odor can't get there. Seager's second hit. He's 2 for 3 tonight.
Alex Claudio has been up a couple of times in the game, and he's getting loose again. Let's take a look at the sidearm left-hander. And a solid base hit by Kyle Seager. As you see our Primera Supermo in the swing by Kyle as he barrels it up. Dae-Ho Lee having a good night. Been on base a couple of times, has a home run in this one, has scored twice.
And we mentioned in the early innings, most runs scored by one team in a series here at Safeco Field, and the Mariners have now made the list in this series and a chance to climb even a notch further. 33 runs for the Mariners against Texas in these 4 games, and we only play in the 5th. Now for Holland in his last start here at Safeco Field, Dae-Ho Lee took him deep twice, and he's taken him deep once here tonight. So could history repeat itself? Another multi-home run game for Dae-Ho Lee against Derek Holland. Instead of line drive into center field, that'll work. Dae-Ho Lee 2 for 2 with a walk.
I think with the way this series has gone, the Mariners are going to be at the top of that list that we just showed you.
That's going to be it for Holland. Bannister out of the dugout.
Yeah, look at the swing by Dae-Ho Lee. Pretty good pitch right on the outside corner, maybe even just off the plate, and a solid line drive into center field.
Holland leaves 2 on with 1 out. Will step aside for a pitching change. catch. This fly ball from Dejo. He brought his glove right by the pole. How about this one, Mike?
Well, we're a big fan of solid defense and a nice catch out in right field. There you go.
Well, that is impressive. Dejo Lee having a nice night. The home run, a walk, and now a single up the middle. Derek Holland chased in the 5th, 4 1/3 innings.
10 hits in 4 1/3, 4 runs they were earned. He's also responsible for the 2 base runners, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. He threw 100 pitches, 65 of those for strikes. Alex Claudio going to take over for the Rangers. 30 appearances on the year, ERA just over 3. Sidearm left-hander. Does not throw hard. He'll be right around the mid-80s, 85 miles an hour with a sweeping slider.
First pitch to Martin. 0-1.
There's the sweeping slider.
The part of the lineup tonight with Seager, Lee, Martin, and Iannetta. A lot of production. And again. Two on, 1 out. And the 0-2. Well, this is just a moment or two ago. Check out right behind Dejo Lee, Casey Candell. Here we go. Up in the air, coming back down. Not even breaking a sweat. Acting like he's been there before.
Yesterday, Aaron, speaking of Casey Candell, Sean O'Malley was getting his work in at shortstop, and they had one of the coaches at second base receiving the throw, and he was going through the whole thing of turning the double play and having some fun with it. Casey, they typically have a screen up in front of second base for people that haven't seen batting practice, but Casey was running around the screen and sliding into second, trying to take him out.
Claudio spears it. Throws to Andrews over to first in time. Pretty impressive double play when you consider the speed of Martin. That'll end the inning. Scribner coming on. Start tonight for Taijuan Walker. Some new mechanics in the mix for Taijuan this evening. Ends up giving up 3 runs over 5 innings and an emphatic finish with the punch out to Mitch Moreland after a lengthy battle. We see his final line.
I think overall a success. He struggled a little bit through the first inning. 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs they were earned. He gave up the 1 solo home run. That was the one real mistake that he made. Couple of walks, 3 strikeouts. He threw 105 pitches. But I think with everything that was involved from his last start to today, a success. Evan Scribner going to take over. This is just his third appearance. His fastball on average is right around 91 miles an hour. Fastball, curveball pitcher with 2 strikes. He likes to throw his curveball quite a bit.
So overall, Mike, with all the changes for Taiwan and in a very short period of time for him to, well, implement them, pretty good.
I think so, and I think after my conversation with Mel Stottlemyre earlier today and talking about everything that was going on with Taiwan, I think that he's going to feel really good about this outing. He wanted him to have some success. Taiwan, he seemed to me as he get further into the game was more and more comfortable with some things. They'll clean it up a little bit more moving into his next start, but I think if you'd have handed this,
especially coming off his last start.
Yeah, I think if you handed this report card for Taiwan, I think that Mel would be thrilled with it. Still work to be done, but a pretty good start for him.
Step in the right direction. Profar leads off the Rangers' 6th inning. Mariners by a run. Profar hitless so far tonight, a couple of ground ball outs. Just 23 years old. From Curacao, former Little League World Series legend for his home country. Of course, missing all of 2014, all of 2015. Was called up earlier this year when finally healthy, and the suspension to Rougned Odor for the right cross. Low liner, and Cano able to make an adjustment.
Wow.
Don't blink.
No, Profar looked like a curveball, and he tried to hook the ball back into right field. You take a look at a Primera Supermo and the adjustment that Robbie had to make. Started to his right. You'll see him move to his right, and then the ball back to his left.
One out for Elvis Andrus. You think about how deep this lineup is for Texas with the additions of Beltran, Lucroy, who has tonight off, but then look at Andrus, Mike. He's a different guy this year.
I think he's having his best year. Came into the game hitting .296 overall, 5 home runs, 60 RBIs. Will also steal a base for you.
21 of them this year. He has been caught 8 times. But you talk about a number 8 hitter batting .296. 1-2. Strike 3 called. 2 up, 2 down for Scribner. This season, for every Mariners hit, Fred Hutch will receive a donation from Mariners Care and the Kyle Seeger vs. Cancer Foundation. Hits for Hutch is our way of supporting the life-saving research taking place at Seattle's own Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. Two outs, it brings in Chirinos. Chirinos, a former infielder in the Cubs system, now has made his way behind home for Texas. Was the Rangers starting catcher before Lucroy was acquired at the deadline. Missed some time this year because of a broken forearm. Keona Kela warming up. Hard throwing right-hander. Chirinos having a chat with Dan Iasonia, our home plate umpire tonight. Scribner's 1-2. now full count. Mazzara would be next. 0 for 2 tonight with a walk. Mariners trying to hold to a 1-run lead here in the 6th inning. Rip but foul. Pretty fine line to walk for Scribner, who's not made many appearances at all this year for the Mariners. This would be a hold situation for Scribner. Seager not having to move a whole lot. And a 1-2-3 top of the 6th spun by Evan Scribner right out of the bullpen. Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. By Jack in the Box, taste the all-new Jack's Brewhouse Bacon Burger today at Jack in the Box, limited time only at participating restaurants. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. A beautiful, albeit a little bit cool of a night here from Seattle as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. A little breeze throughout the ballpark. Claudio back up on the mound for the Rangers.
I think it's been since April that I've had to put the sweater on.
That long?
I think so.
Here is Iannetta. He'll be followed by O'Malley and then Heredia back to the top. It was Iannetta who gave the Mariners a 3-2 lead in the 4th inning. 2-run double on the first pitch. Mariners added a run since then. On the first pitch this time, a chopper to Andrews. In time. Our CenturyLink What's Next coming up around the corner starting tomorrow night. Nothing but right-handers on the horizon for the Oakland Athletics. We hit the airwaves at 6:30 tomorrow night. Iwakuma, Felix, and Paxton. So who are your top guys going there for the Mariners tomorrow? And the series, that is.
Seth Smith, Adam Lynn. They're going to be busy over the weekend down in the Bay Area.
One quick out. It brings in O'Malley. Claudio taking over for Derek Holland, who went 4 1/3. You know, for as much anticipation as there was tonight, Mike, to see Taijuan Walker, the mechanical adjustments, how would he rebound from his last start, there was really some equal anticipation in some ways to see James Paxton after Paxton exited with the fingernail issue 2 starts ago. Punted straight back Trino's trying to find it. Paxton, 6 runs, 4 earned in his last start here against the Rangers. 8 strikeouts, had the rare 4 strikeout inning because of a strikeout wild pitch. What did you make of Paxton coming back from the slightly repaired fingernail?
Well, I thought that he had to throw a lot of pitches in the first 2 innings. You mentioned the 4 strikeouts in the first. And there was an error, I believe it was the second inning, and he had to throw a number of pitches because of that.
It wasn't the second.
It just seemed that he just couldn't get on track, and I think that the pitch count mounted on him. But the one thing that we've seen from James is after missing some time, his first 2 outings not quite as sharp, and then he seems to get it back together. I was most concerned about the acrylic nail that he had put on and how that held up. It seemed to be fine. His velocity was good at 97, 98 miles an hour. So I would expect him to pitch well in his next outing.
1 out, nobody on. You mentioned the pitch count. 31 pitches in the first, 31 pitches in the second. That's tough to rebound from and go deep. Nearly impossible.
Well, and it's the stress on all those pitches and the base runners out there and things happening all over the place. And you'll hear pitching coaches talk about stress pitches. Well, that was his first 2 innings.
Yeah, he was living it. A high chop. Still 2-2.
Happy to see that Casey didn't dive to that.
I wish I could have seen the sliding into second base that you were describing.
It was great. And again, it was the coach that was just receiving the ball from O'Malley, who was working out at shortstop. And the coach the first time just looked at him. What are you doing? And I think it was about the 5th time that he ended up rolling into him. And I said, that's an illegal slide, Casey. You're going to have to clean that up. He just laughed about it.
The 2-2. Back to Claudio. Gobbles it up. Throws a strike. 2 outs. We'll take a look now at our Geico This Date in Big League history. We take you back to the year 1993. This is a pretty emotional one for the man you see in the middle there, Scott Service. Darryl Kyle retires the final 17 batters to record a no-hitter for the Astros, the 9th in Astros history. Scott Service was the catcher in that game. Casey Candel, by the way, was in center field, and of course Scott Service, Darryl Kyle, the best of friends. Kyle has tragically passed away many years ago. Pitching change here in the 6th. Claudio is done for the night. I'll check out some scores from earlier today. Good news, the Astros lost. Day baseball from Progressive Field, 10-7 the final there. The Indians winning. The Yankees winning. Pretty dramatic win in the Bronx. And you take a look at the Delta Airlines keep climbing standings. The Yankees have now won 5 in a row. Mariners 5 games out. Game behind Kansas City. talking earlier, though, the Yankees really making some noise all of a sudden as Heredia, the first to face Keone Kela.
Heredia having a good night. 2 for 3. Picked up an RBI.
And I'll tell you, Mike, the team we never mention every time we take a look at those wild card standings, which is multiple times every day, as you see the numbers for Kela this year, we never mention the Orioles and how they have held firm as the second wild card team without faltering, it's even for a day, with really almost no starting pitching. Chris Tillman on the disabled list, their ace. Buck Showalter, how he's been able to piece that together. Now they have an incredible lineup. Let's not cheat them on that, but still, pitching is of such value, and they don't have much.
Well, they've had some issues as far as injury to their bullpen too. They're hoping to get O'Day back soon, but you're right. They score a lot of runs.
They score a ton, and they have the best closer in the league.
Right, and Brittany's perfect this year. Has not blown a save.
He's in the Cy Young conversation. That's how good he's been.
I think so. Kela with a good fastball, averaging 96 miles an hour. Also has a curveball and a changeup.
Full count. But when we saw the Orioles in 2 series earlier this year, it was just so apparent that the guys they were running out there were basically all back of the rotation guys, with the exception of Tillman, who's now hurt. 3-2. And a walk with 2 outs. 4th walk drawn tonight by the Mariners. That brings in Goody.
I haven't looked, but I would imagine that they have a number of pitching call-ups on their team now.
Yeah, and when we last saw the Orioles, Dylan Bundy was throwing 97 out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
Now he's throwing mid-90s in the rotation.
Right.
So they've had some changes in roles for some of their personnel.
Speaking of call-ups, I think I saw it right, but the Washington Nationals now have 37 guys.
What?
Yeah.
They're pushing the limits. It's away from Chirinos, but Heredia stays put. 37. I wonder what the distribution is between bench and bullpen.
I imagine that they have probably 7 lefties out in the pen. Mix and match from the 4th inning on.
See if Dusty Baker can remember names.
Yeah, exactly.
Strasburg just activated from the disabled list, then hurt again. As the Nationals in first place by 8.5 games entering today over the Mets. Mariners trying to extend this 1-run lead.
And we were talking about it on the roundtable on radio before the game, on the pregame show over there, and Gary Hill, who does a fantastic job, said that they had 37 players. And he said that there was another team that called up 6 left-handers. I can't remember which team it was. I mean, it's
Check swing off the bat, 1-2.
September baseball.
Scott Servais said today during his media session that he is a proponent of setting a daily 25-man roster.
Yeah, Jerry DiPoto was telling us the same thing as you see Alvarez getting loose. I think they're going to have to do something, because they constantly talk about pace of play, and in September we've seen that on this homestand already. The games get long.
If you look at the numbers put out by Major League Baseball last year, pace of play was much better in the first half of last season, and then it began to lag in the second half, and especially at this time last year, the final month as you're talking about. Swing and a miss to end the inning. And with that, Heredia, after the walk, is stranded at first base. We have completed 6. Mariners by a run. also right in from their newest stations on Capitol Hill or at the UW. Schedules can always be found at soundtransit.org. Mariners take a 4-3 lead to the top of the 7th inning. Mariners have knocked around 10 hits in this one over the first 6 frames. We have a new right fielder. Ben Gamble takes over for Franklin Gutierrez. So Goody is done for the night. That will snap his 7-game hitting streak. He did walk twice, however. It is Mazzara to lead off the top of the 7th.
Seeing Gamble and right already and left, that's something that you're going to see the rest of the way when the Mariners have a lead. And it's the 7th inning. Scott Service was telling me yesterday that he's going to get those guys out there to play defense. Makes sense. They cover a lot of ground.
Scribner's still in there. Strike 1 to Mazzara. And you throw in Martin in center field with those 2 guys on the edges, and it's pretty speedy outfield. To the new man, Gamble charging, diving, and he makes the catch.
And that's why he puts him out there. That is not an easy play to dive straight in and make the catch. I've already seen him make a number of diving catches. Nick Vincent getting loose in the Mariner pen.
An impressive out number 1. Here is Desmond. Opposite field home run the last time up for Desmond. His 22nd this year. Scribner had 0-2. See how Dan Iasonia wears this one. And time called. Always marveled in the minor leagues at the umpiring crews. Always have minivans. They would drive from city to city. All the players on the bus. Somebody else is driving them, as we see Diekman warming up. But in the minors, those 3-man umpiring crews. To Cano. Got a head start. Was shaded that way. 2 outs. The Mariners and EQC are pleased to offer members of the U.S. Armed Forces special discounted tickets at all home games this season. Simply show a current military ID at the Safeco Field box office, and you'll receive 10% off select seats. To all who serve our country, we sincerely say thank you. 2 outs, nobody on for Beltran. Talking with an umpire years ago in the minors, he said that the crew chief would always drive first. You figure a lot of these rides were 6 to 8 hours, sometimes even more. So he'd take the first leg. You're awake, get it over with, then he could shut it down the rest of the night. As Beltran goes the opposite way. Heredia trying to track it down in foul territory, but Beltran coasts in with a double. His 2nd hit. And every game a road game for the umps, and then you get rewarded by taking one off the chest like that.
Did you ever, when you were running around through the minor leagues, as Scott Service comes out to get Nick Vincent, have the bus break down on you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good time. Mississippi, 2 o'clock in the morning.
And then not many people around to help.
No, nobody.
You're going to be there a while. Here comes Vincent, 2 out, tying run in scoring position. outs and a runner in scoring position for the Rangers. Well, coming up right here on Root Sports, it's another Beacon Plumbing High School football game on September the 15th. Tune in to see the Liberty Patriots versus the Roosevelt Rough Riders at 7 p.m. Pacific. Don't miss the action this season right here on Root Sports. Brought to you by Beacon Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Stop freak and call Beacon.
Nick Vincent going to take over 50 appearances on the year. 3.5 ERA. Fastball in the low 90s. Cut fastball probably around 88 miles an hour. Also has a slider. Occasional changeup.
Inherits a pinch runner, Carlos Gomez, off the bench. Running for Beltran after the 2-out double. Beltre is the go-ahead run. He has the tie-in run in scoring position. Strike one. Has not seen Vincent hardly at all. The 0-1. 0-2. Good speed at second base in Gomez. Vincent's 0-2.
Trying to get him to chase the cutter off the plate away.
Well, not an easy spot here for Vincent. Beltre batting .291, 26 home runs. The 1-2. Scribner sat down the first 5 men that he faced. He was helped up by a couple of fine plays behind him. Diving stop kind of across his body from Cano. And then Mazzara flying out to right field on a diving catch by Gamble just in the game. And then Scribner giving up the double to Beltran before his night was over. Vincent again, the 1-2. High the opposite way. Gamble quickly onto the track. Curling has the space, and that ends the inning. The tying run is stranded at second base. It's time to stretch. Mariners take a 1-run lead with them. Washington's lottery played today. Mariners preserving a 4-3 lead as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Beautiful shot inside Safeco Field. Got some changes defensively for Jeff Bannister. Nomar Mazara has moved from left field into right field where we normally see him. And Gomez stays in the game and left. Jake Diekman, the new pitcher for the Rangers.
Hard throwing left-hander. Fastball right around 95 miles an hour. Be his 59th appearance on the year. Also makes in a slider and a changeup. Putting it in the middle of the lineup. Cano, Cruz, and Seager do up.
Robbie looking for his first hit tonight. Trying to extend an 11-game hitting streak. Stares at ball one.
Saw Diekman in the second game of this series, and he really struggled with his fastball command. It's been an issue for him since the All-Star break.
Last year at the deadline, the Rangers getting Cole Hamels, getting Diekman in the same deal, getting Sam Dyson as well from the National League. It's kind of funny to think about 2 years ago when the Rangers went through just that historic rash of injuries, setting a major league record for players used in a season. There's talk at that point of, all right, how much do they tear this thing down? Bring in some new personnel. It was just such a horrific season for Texas. The next year they're making moves to the deadline with really the thought of this year in mind.
Right.
Instead they go out to win the division, and now they have one of the more comfortable division leads in baseball as Cano draws the leadoff walk. And it seemed like one of the bedrocks that whole time, a pretty rich farm system.
Well, and that's what everybody was assuming when they made the trade early to get Hamels, that it was more for the following year, this year, because he was signed and they had control of him.
Chance for Nelson Cruz. Nelly having a fantastic series, but hitless so far tonight. 1-1. Cano leadoff walk. Held by Moreland. Mariners lead it by just a run here in the 7th.
A couple of fastballs right down the middle. Take a look at this last pitch. Fastball at 95 miles an hour, and a pretty good swing by Nelson as he fouls it straight back.
Handcuffed him. One down. Fans, for being true to the blue, here's to you. Friday, September 30th, it is Fan Appreciation Night. Enjoy prize giveaways every inning, including Diamond Club tickets, autographed jerseys, and an iPad Mini courtesy of T-Mobile. For tickets, just visit mariners.com. That sounds like a good night. 1 out, 1 on for Kyle Seager.
Kyle having a good night. A couple of hits for him, 2 for 3. His raised his batting average to .294.
We were talking earlier about Seager's success, especially when it comes to the home run ball against lefties, facing another lefty here, and how he has the most in the majors since 2014 left on left home runs. I was really surprised to see the gap. He has 11 more than last year's National League MVP. 11 more left on left home runs than Bryce Harper, the guy who put up a historic season last year.
Well, you go back to 2014 and Kyle had struggled against lefties, and it was one of the areas that he wanted to improve on. He did that. I believe he hit over 290 along with hitting all the home runs last year, and the home runs continue this year.
The 2-1. In the last 3 seasons, Seager has more left on left home runs than Chris Davis. He has 4 more than David Ortiz. Cano at first base, 1 out.
And he tried to get out in front of that fastball at 95 miles an hour. Down at the bottom of the strike zone with a little bit of sink to it.
Seager already a couple of base hits tonight, 2 singles. One the opposite way. Crushed right field. This is ticketed for a seat. Gone. Seager's 27th. A new single season career best for the Mariners third baseman.
Well, Aaron, timing is everything, and his 11th home run against a left-hander. So the trend you were talking about is just going to continue. His third base hit off of a lefty tonight. Well, 95 again, but this time the fastball is elevated on the inside corner. Belt high, and he lines it into the seats. And right, a little bit of insurance for the Mariners, and a good look at our Primera Supermo and the swing by Kyle.
And here is Dae-Ho Lee.
The year he is having. He has 90 RBIs now. 27 home runs, 90 RBIs, hitting .295.
And it's pretty awesome.
This is a great year.
And, you know, we talk about this from time to time, and I hope it doesn't come across like we're just a couple of bitter guys. And it could. I apologize if that's the case, but find me somebody else putting up that stat line at a premium defensive position, as Dae-Ho Lee is down swinging, that Kyle Seager plays, who has the resume, right? The Gold Glove, the All-Star, who gets talked about as little as Kyle Seager. And to Seager's credit, I don't think he cares at all. But from our standpoint, we'd sure like to see that change a little bit. Not Seager's attitude, of course, but a national perspective.
I would agree. I would agree across the board. And it's a little bit ironic in that his younger brother is in the headlines all the time. Will probably win the Rookie of the Year in the National League.
And has at least entered conversation for National League MVP with the turnaround the Dodgers have had. Alvarez still warming to the bullpen once again. Martin inside the batter's box with 2 outs. Broken bat, Odor. That ends the inning. But Seager with some insurance. The Mariners had a 1-run lead going to the bottom of the 7th. They now lead it by 3. Seager's 27th, a new single season career best.
.63. Hey, remember to use the hashtag #WhereIRoot presented by Alaska Airlines. Like this one that Terry sends in, rooting from the Bird Treatment and Learning Center. That's what TLC stands for in Anchorage. And then we've got this one from Aaron. Life goal of dancing on the jumbo screen in a baseball game. Check. Congratulations to Lindstroms for that. And guys, that's on my list as well, and I still have that to do. Back to you. It's Where I Root, presented by Alaska Airlines.
Okay, thank you, Angie. 0-1 to Rougned Odor leading off the top of the 8th. Much more comfortable lead for the Mariners now, 6-3. Vincent got the final out in the 7th. He was back on to work the 8th. And Odor skies this a mile high. Gamble in the corner and to his seats.
Steve Cishek and Edwin Diaz both getting loose in the bullpen. There's a look. Steve on your right, Edwin on the left.
I learned something the other day about Edwin Diaz that I had no idea about, and I'm not sure how we never learned this. Diaz celebrated the birth of his first child over the All-Star break. The Mariners' 22-year-old closer is a dad. This is the best 3-month span of his life, and it's not close.
I would agree with you. I didn't know that. You were telling me that before the game today.
Edwin flew to Puerto Rico for the birth of his son during the All-Star break. His wife, high school sweethearts from back home. And imagine how tough this is, Mike. His son is born on the Monday of the All-Star break. And then, of course, the Mariners start playing again on Friday. So he's flying home, flying back to Seattle, that is, just a few days after his first child is born. Hasn't seen him since, but he said that his wife, some of his family, of course, his son will be coming out at some point soon. He said about once a year his wife would fly from Puerto Rico to visit him when he was in the minors. She came out a couple of years ago to watch him in the Futures game. But this is something we don't think about, the time away from home for a lot of these guys.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's one of the difficult things. And he probably, I would assume, when he was in AA, that he didn't imagine he would be pitching here in September. Probably thought he was going to be home sooner.
You're right. The shift is on. O'Malley is right there. Wow. check in once again with how the Mariners are doing in this series in terms of most runs scored in a series in Safeco Field history. One shy of the all-time record. The Tigers in 3 games dropped 36 on the Mariners, but the Mariners with 35 runs, second highest total ever in a series here from Safeco Field. Dae-Ho Lee having a part in that. Got things going with a solo blast in the second off of Derek Holland. Strike one to Moreland. Oh, 2. That's especially true when you talk about some of the players from Cuba, where family, especially children, back home for years and they don't get to see him. Jose Abreu went nearly 3 years without seeing his son, all-star first baseman for the White Sox. Finally reunited this year. 3 pitches. Boy, did he tie Moreland up. Nothing but strikes for the Rangers first baseman. 2 outs.
Nick's had a good fastball tonight. He's had an excellent cutter and, more importantly, great command of it. He just elevates one at 90, gets him to swing underneath it.
Two outs, top of the 8th. Mariners by 3. It brings in Jurickson Profar.
There's the cutter again in on his hands. That fastball's been 87, 88 miles an hour, and again, perfect location with it.
Oh, and 2. The bullpen has been stellar since taking over for Taijuan Walker, who went 5 innings. Vincent trying to close out the 8th. The 0-2. First pitch that he has thrown that has not been a strike to each of the last 2 hitters now.
19 pitches, 15 strikes. 4 batters faced, 4 first pitch strikes.
Now the 1-2. Just missing. Now Vincent got the Mariners out of some hot water in the 7th. Inherited a runner at second base when the Mariners were up by just a run at that point. Rolled over to Cano and a short flip. That is the inning. Vincent sits down all 4 men that he's asked to face. We go to the bottom of the 8th. fan fave. Watch the Mariners pregame show every Sunday to find out the top 5 fan favorite plays of the week. Plus, each month, one lucky fan will win a Coors Light Refresherator just for participating. For official rules, just visit rootsports.com. On to the bottom of the 8th, and our new pitcher Jose Leclerc up on the mound.
Well, Leclerc, good fastball at 95 miles an hour, changeup, curveball. He also has a split. Only his 6th appearance on the year. He's yet to give up a home run.
More strikeouts and innings pitched in the early goings for Leclerc. Face Chris Iannetta to begin the inning. Mariners leading 6-3 thanks to a 2-run smash by Seager. One of 2 home runs hit tonight by the Mariners. Dae-Ho Lee in the 2nd inning. Leclerc's first pitch tonight. Swinging strike at 92. Little dribbler back to the mound. Leclerc on first, 1 down. You can tell Scott Service really trying to pick the places for Iannetta, the best matchups that will create success for Chris, and puts him in tonight. A lefty up on the mound, Derek Holland. We know that Iannetta has had really good success this year against lefties, and had to feel nice for Chris. You get a big 2-run double in that inning to give the Mariners the lead.
I agree, and I think that he was probably also out there being the veteran that he is with Taijuan Walker and all the things that Taijuan was dealing with going into this game with the mechanical changes that he had. And he had Chris. Chris made a number of trips out to the mound. Not that Mike Zunino wouldn't do the same, but I think you have a guy that's a 10-year vet with everything that Walker was dealing with, along with the numbers he had against Holland.
And we know that Taijuan enjoys working with Zunino, but earlier this year when Mike was still in Tacoma, we heard Taijuan very outspoken, very positive about his enjoyment working with Iannetta.
Well,
so
go back and look at his month of April.
Yeah, no, you're right. ERA well beneath 2 for Taijuan in April. As Edwin Diaz continuing to warm up, a 3-run lead right now for the Mariners. 1 out, nobody on, bottom of the 8th. O'Malley 1 for 3 tonight. Mike, you no doubt can relate to O'Malley. The idea of a young major leaguer playing for his hometown team. Gotta be. I mean, it's easy to overlook this for the kid from Kennewick. This is pretty sweet.
It's great. I can tell you that it's a lot of fun, and you know, it's one of those things too. And think about when you're younger, playing in the big leagues. There's already a waits on deck, having a good night. But the thought of for O'Malley one day actually calling Safeco Field his home ballpark and getting a chance to play here, it's fantastic.
The 3-2. 2 outs.
For myself, just going to the Kingdome and watching games when I was in school, and it was a thrill for me. We were talking about the Everett kids getting a chance to play here tomorrow night, and when I was at the University of Washington, we played the final spring game against the Seattle Mariners in the Kingdome, and I thought that was great.
I bet. Heredia has reached base 3 times tonight. He's driven in a run on an infield single. We can just say that Sean O'Malley is always a hit on the Mariners caravan. Take him over the Tri-Cities. pretty interesting when you look at the scorecard tonight. Well, the Mariners have received this much offensive production with Cano hitless, did walk and score a run. Cruz hitless. Of course, Seager 3 hits, but you look at Daeho Lee, Martin, Iannetta. We mentioned his big 2-run double, and has not been necessarily the usual suspects tonight for the Mariners, at least the 2 biggest ones.
We were talking about it earlier, Aaron. The guys that have the speed that have been on base tonight, including Heredia, who's been on 3 times, a couple of hits and a walk for him in the leadoff spot.
Andrews with the pick and a low throw, but to Moreland in time. The side is retired in order for the first time since the first inning. 3-run lead, and Edwin Diaz coming out in the 9th.
Field showing how strong he is. Kyle Seager also the leaving there. Lots of offensive stars in this one. Coming up at Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines. Jen Mueller is downstairs. She'll chat with somebody coming off the field. We'll head inside the clubhouse here from the players and the skipper. Chris Iannetta had a fantastic at-bat, a couple of RBIs in tonight's game as well. He'd be a good person to talk to. We'll hear from the skipper after this one. We'll let you know what's going on in the AL wild card race. We'll check in on the local Ford keys to the game. Lots of stuff to get to before the Mariners head off to Oakland. It's all coming up at Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines, guys.
All right, thank you, Angie. We take a look at Edwin Diaz.
This will be his 40th appearance on the air. ERA right around 2.5. How about 71 strikeouts in 40 innings this year? An impressive number for Diaz. He will top out at 100 miles an hour. Also has a slider.
Facing Elvis Andrews. Watch out.
It's been a long game, but that will wake you up.
Well, that's about the only reaction you can have to something like that. One and one.
In Arlington, Venditti hit Andrews. A little different fastball coming from Diaz. There's the slider.
That is vicious. Andrews shaking his head, not pleased with the strike one count, or call rather. The 1-2. Just barely got a piece. 1 out.
90-mile-an-hour slider. the outside corner. Gets him to wave at it. Throws a fastball at 96 under your chin. Then you're supposed to hang in there for that slider. That's tough.
Diaz now facing a pinch hitter, Jared Hoying. Sit on the bench all night and face this. Missing with 100. Mariners are 2 outs from a series win against the first place Texas Rangers. Seager, O'Malley, Heredia. Who's going to get it? 2 outs.
Good communication on that play. It's an easier play for the outfielder. Anytime the outfielder can get it, he needs to call it off. It would have been tough for Kyle Seager. A little bit easier for O'Malley, and you can see Heredia call everybody off and makes the catch.
The bullpen has played a huge role in this one tonight. Scribner an inning and 2/3 scoreless. Vincent an inning and a 1/3 scoreless. And back of Taiwan, who went 5. And now it is Diaz, 1 out away from locking down a win tonight. Facing Mazzara. Barely grazing 99. When you think about the way the Mariners have to climb the Royals, the Yankees, the Astros, the Tigers in the wild card standings, take a 3 out of 4 against the best team in the league. This is huge.
I would agree with that. And now you go out on the road with Oakland and Anaheim, 2 teams that have struggled. You have to continue to take care of your business. But this is a very good start as far as that goes. Keep your hopes alive.
The Mariners began the season 2-1. They took 2 out of 3 in Arlington against the Rangers. That is the last time the Mariners have won a series against Texas. They won their first series against Texas. They are a pitch away from winning their last series. Final meeting tonight between these 2 teams. Orioles and Tigers will be matching up this weekend as the Mariners are in Oakland. Red Sox and Blue Jays this weekend as well. Somebody's got to lose those games. The 1-2. Check swing.
You get him to chase the slider down out of the strike zone after a number of fastballs. It was 5 fastballs, and then he throws this pitch down out of the zone.
A reaction made for Supermo. Now Mazzara putting up a fight here. Again, the 2-2.
Look out!
A slider finishes off Lazara. The Mariners win. Diaz, a 1-2-3 ninth. And the Mariners have taken 3 games out of 4 against the best team in the American League. Dale Lee a home run. Kyle Seager a big blast. His career best 27th. What a game, what a series. The Mariners win this one, a final score of 6-3. Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines kicks off right now. Brad, Val, guys, take it away.
Aaron, Mike, thank you very much. Boy, things going your way. Diaz getting a couple calls there in the 9th. And the Mariners double up the Rangers 6-3, taking 3 of 4 from the team with the best record in the league. I don't have to have the best record anymore, Val. That was a very impressive display of baseball by the Mariners. Another good all-around game. A couple more home runs against lefties. That's what they do. And they win another series against the Rangers. This is a little bit of a statement. I know 22 to go. A lot can still happen. A lot has to happen. I know that, Val, but taking 3 of 4, that was big.
Well, it's great to see them bounce back after that really rough road trip, but the bats really came alive with those 6 runs here tonight. That's 35 runs in a 4-game series against the Texas Rangers, and we saw everybody contributing against Kyle Seager tonight. 3 for 4 with another 2-run home run. What a season he is having.
His career high 27th home run. We'll talk about that and talk about the offense in just a second. But when you look at, and the other side, you know, the Rangers now have lost 4 of 5. They're struggling. They got to start to maybe figure out their rotation. But things very positive for the Mariners on this homestand. Now 4-3 as we go down to the field. Join Jen Mueller with guy who knocked in a couple of big runs and Chris Iannetta.
Before we get to the offense, let's start with the starting pitcher, because so many of us wanted to see what those tweaks would be. How did Taijuan kind of refocus after those first 2 walks?
Yeah, I think he went to his off-speed pitch and he did really well with that. You know, sometimes when you throw a lot of fastballs in a row and you're throwing balls, you try to get back in the zone with, you know, something, you know, change up, curveball, slider, whatever it would be. We went with the change up and he threw a really good one right there, and then curveball after that, and he kind of got in groove.
In general, what do those tweaks allow him to do?
He uses his body the right way, you know, use his legs a little bit more, stay on plane, and really drive the ball through the strike zone.
You got a pitch that you could drive in the 4th inning. Didn't see a lot of pitches in that at bat, but you had some success off the Holland. What were you expecting in that situation?
Yeah, I knew he was going to attack the zone right there. He'd been pitching great. You know, I think that was the only pitch I saw over the middle third of the plate all night. Everything else was on the black and on the corners, and they did a really good job. We just did a little bit better job getting some hits.
It was big to get those runs to take the lead. To take 3 of 4 against the Rangers, how does that just give the team confidence going on this trip?
Yeah, we need to win. I think everyone knows that. You know, we don't have too many games left. We need to win series. We need to win as many games as we can and make it interesting down the stretch. You know, anything can happen. You know, some people write us off, and that's a good thing. You know, we haven't. You know, we expect to make the playoffs, and we expect to keep playing well down the stretch.
Playing with that underdog role and a chip on their shoulder. We'll let Chris get inside. We'll get this out to the guys in center field.
All right, Jen, thank you very much, Mr. Iannetta. Yes, more on the new look. Taijuan Walker picks up the win, improves to 5-10.
I liked it.
I like that. I like that, yes. And so, again, it changes perspective a little bit. They go out now, they got the A's and Angels the next 6 games. Also, we'll talk about the trip as well. But we got a lot to talk about, it sounds like, in this postgame. Let's get right to your local forward keys of the game. Pick up with Taijuan.
Yeah, we thought this was going to be really important for Todd to walk this way. Not the way he did it in his last start, but change things up, and that's exactly what he did starting in that very first inning. He started attacking the strike zone. He had a little bit of a different mechanics. His glove hand was a little bit higher, a little bit more deception right there. Wasn't throwing upper 90s. He was hanging around 94, 95, but was very effective here tonight. 7 hits, 3 earned runs, and 3 strikeouts. Offensively, the Mariners just keep the line moving. They continue to do that here tonight for the 4th straight night against the Texas Rangers as they put up a 6th spot here, 35 runs in this series. Dae-Ho Lee, opposite field home run. Kyle Seager with his 11th home run off of a left-handed pitcher this season with a 2-run home run right here. He ended up 3 for 4 on the night with those 2 RBIs. This is a team that offensively just really came alive against a good baseball team in the Texas Rangers. I think something that's really going to propel them going forward onto this road trip.
35 runs, we saw the graphic in these 4 games. They take 3 of 4 from the Rangers. Good keys tonight, good win, and a heck of a throw from left fielder Heredia in the 3rd inning. Here it comes, our Primera Super moments from tonight's game. Beltre with a single to left field, already 1 run in. Desmond running from second. Here comes Guillermo Heredia, The lefty with the strike valve to the plate and a great catch by Iannetta and tag.
That's how it's done right there. Heredia, perfect mechanics, perfect fundamentals. Iannetta catches it and he applies the tag just as he receives that baseball. Tremendous throw by the left fielder.